Hello and welcome to the Quiver channel. I'm Jason, your host. I hope you're all having a wonderful, splendid first day. Well, things have changed again here. Why am I not using this as my primary thing at the moment? Anybody who tried to watch my streams last night will have seen that I tried 3-4 times to get things working. And I had to come to a conclusion. First of all, this little laptop, this ThinkPad X13 Gen 4 with the AMD, it's fucking amazing. And as a backup or mobile computer, or for using when it gets too hot to turn on a big computer, it's brilliant. But it has some issues that only came to light when I got a more powerful graphics card installed. It was also to do with AMD, which is paradoxical because this is an AMD platform. It's an AMD processor. But from what I've done with my testing during the night and everything, is this. The eGPU software that you get with NVIDIA cards is seemingly much more robust and knows what it's doing. So the first problem was, once I went from a 3060 Ti, remember, this is something that's a generation old, that isn't a very powerful GPU compared to what's out these days, to a 7900 XT, which equals a 4080 in power, in everything except RTX. The resulting performance of this tanked through the floor. I was having OBS problems. OBS wouldn't recognize certain things. For those that don't know, NVIDIA has always been king when it came to software and codecs. No matter how good AMD tries, they drop the ball. Just like they dropped the ball with AI, they drop the ball with software. And so as soon as I installed the 7900 XT into the eGPU, first of all, it recognized my VR headset as a monitor, as a primary monitor, so I had to just press thing in, put my password in blind because it wasn't coming up on any of the other screens, and it classed that screen, my VR headset, as the default headset. So every time I tried to open a web page, it wouldn't show up on any of my monitors here. It was showing up on that. I had to actually physically disconnect it from my system for it to stop doing that, which was annoying, to say the least. Then it kept defaulting to the integrated graphics. Now, the integrated graphics does show up on the internal screen, and that's fine, the 780M. But every time I tried to launch a game, first of all, it would default to that internal monitor for the laptop on here instead of my primary one. I tried different cables, I tried different connections. It was all very, very strange. Then, once I got into game, I could tell by looking over, because I had the processor, the core temp set up on there, and even though I was using a 7900 XT, or supposedly a 7900 XT, it was using 80 to 90% of my CPU. All the cores were almost redlining. I mean, I'd never seen this amount of usage. I did try putting and yes, I used DDU to remove all traces of NVIDIA software. I did all that, all the basics when I swapped over. I made sure I was using the most modern drivers for AMD and the most modern drivers for NVIDIA, and it seems that the eGPU stuff for the thingy just is not well enough. Betty, you've had lots of love this morning. Let me do my stuff. You're distracting me. You're beautiful. Okay, so I tried all the basics. No, don't. You're going to fall off. Go back. Stay. So I can see him on the camera now. And they're like, oh, we haven't been loved forever. So the problem was, that kept happening. I tried in multiple games. And then I tried Starfield. I thought, I'm going to try a AAA title. Maybe it's just Star Trek Online. It's an old title. Maybe it's having issues with it. Oh, that was fun. First of all, putting on Starfield actually completely grabbed every single core of the CPU and tanked OBS. OBS just stopped working. It basically had no resources going to it at all, so it couldn't do anything. The stream crashed multiple times as there wasn't even even the internet connection sort of went tanks up. So after all this, I put the 3060 back in. And I noticed that it wasn't just that was causing issues, but not other issues I could have coped with easily enough. But what's the point of having the 3060 Ti in there when I've got a 20 gigabyte VRAM AMD card that is supposed to be really good? So I've come to the conclusion of this. This is a perfect backup thingy. The problem is with using it as a desktop replacer is the amount of throughput. And I noticed this in two different ways. This has two USB 4, which in theory gives you 40 gigabytes bandwidth for your eGPU or wherever else you want to plug in. So in one plug socket, I had my eGPU, and in the other plug socket, I had this. Now the problem with this is this was taking up another socket of the eGPU, and in here I had two external SSDs because it's only got 4 terabytes in it. And it had all my peripherals going through it. It had my internet connection, on 2.5 gigahertz internet connection. So a lot of the bandwidth of this computer was being taken up before the eGPU kicked in. Now the eGPU software is definitely more able to cope and more efficient on the NVIDIA side. For example, my NVIDIA card on that system, non-eGPU, on that system, even eGPU was only using 2.9% CPU and causing hardly any bandwidth usage. I mean, it's crazy. But unless you can set up a system, like first of all, cannot use this with this if I also want to use an eGPU, which sucks. So this can be used as a backup PC, and it's very good as a backup PC. But the moment you try to make it your permanent one, unless you can live with just two USB slots, and live with the, more importantly, using the Wi-Fi, because it doesn't have an RJ45 Ethernet on, unfortunately. It is just, you have to basically connect wireless or connect a hub that's got a RJ45, and I would prefer the RJ45. So unless you can use it within itself and maybe connect one monitor to it with the integrated GPU within here, if you want to go AMD, you're going to have problems. And I have the suspicion that if I put a more powerful NVIDIA card in there, it would also tank the performance of this unit. Because even though it's got USB 4, and USB 4 is fucking amazing, it's sharing resources. So that's the issue with it. So yeah, this is a perfect backup PC. I would be happy to use this with a 1080p monitor over there and connect this up and do all my normal stuff with it. No problem at all. But I'd have to limit myself to wireless. I'd have to limit myself to the 4TB internal, and I'd have to limit it to an 3060 8GB, which is fine, you might say. But when you start doing wanting as a primary and you want to do VR as well, that 8 gigs VRAM starts really going into trouble with VRchat and stuff like that. In fact, last time I went on, it started warning me that I was coming up to 99% VRAM usage and that stuttering would occur. So what the frick am I gaming on now? I'm gaming on my old PC. The AI PC is staying where it is downstairs. My original one that was here that I was using for almost 6, 7, 8 months. That's staying downstairs. That's a NAS. It's AI. It's working perfectly. I mean, I can run up to 30 billion size LLMs. It's amazing what you can do with it. And that is perfect for downstairs. And I've got lots of ideas to tweak and software I'm going to run on it and all that kind of thing. Fine. So I've got my old system, my 3950X AMD Ryzen processor with the Tomahawk motherboard with 32 gigs RAM, and I put the 7900 XT in here. And because the 7900 XT is going through PCI Express lanes and not through a USB infrastructure, it seems to be perfectly usable. So I still have a backup computer, and I have my main computer here. This computer doesn't have much storage in, but the two 4TB M2s that I was using with this and the laptop, they've gone in the back of that, so it's got 8TB at the moment, and it's got 2TB installed. I need to upgrade the M2s inside it and fix all that up, but that's a long-term goal now. Apart from that, this is actually looking pretty damn good. So it's a bit of a bastardized system because it didn't have room to have the Arctic 360 cooler in it. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let me just unplug. If you look at the top of this, the cooler is actually outside. I had to Dremel a hole in the top of the case for the actual cooler to be in thingy. So yeah. So I did that a long time ago and it works fine. Those fans are pushing out, so they're drawing air from inside the case straight out up above, and there's a fan going in from that takes the air. There's a pulp fan in the front of this. There's a push fan pushing it out at the back, and there's these drawing air out at the top. Very cool. Works very well. I just had to cut a hole in the top of the case. This was an old case anyway. So that's how things worked. I love messing with computers. I mean, this isn't a problem. This isn't a problem. Oh my God, this isn't a problem. This is me being happy at 1 a.m. this morning, taking up our systems and putting new systems in place and installing new software. It's a wonderful part of my coping strategy that helps me deal with stuff. I installed during the night. Let's see. I think I installed over. Because this system had basically no software installed. It now has, my 32 favourites. It has 143 hentai games installed. Just because, why not? It has 17 reverse bullet hell games. It has 11 VR games. And it has 137 uncategorized games. Yeah, that's my system setup at the moment on here. And I'm going to do some majorly testing today to make sure everything works. I'll be running Starfield and stuff like that and testing it. So I would say bye-bye for now, you wonderful, splendiferous people.